Good evening. Welcome to the Tammy Talks show. I am Tammy. I'm glad to be coming back with you on the topic of mental health. I'm going to wait till some of the viewers come in, wait for some of you to tune in. I really enjoyed the talk that we had on the other day, and I got overwhelming phone calls and texts, and people was coming on asking me to come back again and just share some more concerning mental health. I'm glad you are tuning in. I'm waiting for you to just tune on in. I'm gonna give it a few minutes for the people to come on, and we're just gonna talk a little more. We're gonna go into an in-depth conversation. We was hitting on some of the conversation the other day. We was hitting a little bit on what Dominic and my husband, what Mr. Stewart was going through, dealing with mental illness. But today we're going to even talk a little bit more. And we want him to share with us some of the things that he experienced. Again, I'd like to thank you all for joining in with us, and we're going to continue the conversation on mental health. We want to talk about some of the things you had gone through, Mr. Rutherford, Dominic. We on first name basis, yes, Dominic. Can you go a little in depth on the things you experienced? You know, even when you brought up the conversation and you mentioned that you was raped, most young people and most people don't want to talk on that conversation or to talk about it. I'm so glad that you brought that out, and I know with your therapist you shared some things, but we're not going to have to try to go into details. But I know you shared some things with your therapist that you don't mind sharing with the audience, and let them know that even though you're going through those things, but don't be afraid to talk about it, because somebody else may be experiencing that and need someone to hear their story, hear their experience, to let them know that you're not in this by yourself, that somebody else have gone through it. Could you share with us today?
Well, yes, as I mentioned in the last segment, I was right. My mother at the time, she was a youth pastor, and it seemed like I would say a setup, mm-hmm. because I mean it was like people that I trusted.
Yeah.
I was the person that did it was around someone that I trusted, mm-hmm. and at the time, so I was over to this person's house, and mm-hmm. at the time, you know, the guy that asked me to walk to the store with him. We walked to the store, and next thing I know, he's hitting me, dragging me to the wooded area, and you know that's where the rape happened at, and it did a lot of damage, like to me growing up. Like that's why I mentioned last time that I had a lot of anger, because when someone goes through something so traumatic, it makes them angry and make them bitter, and make them lash out, because you know he took my innocence at a young age.
Yes.
He put me in a situation to where he took, I wouldn't say my manhood, but he took my dignity at the time.
Yes.
To where I had to live life through a struggle of, you know, battling and fighting through certain things, and then it mainly was like church people that I trusted. Church people, you know, my mom was a youth pastor, so she trusted me with certain people, and then like I never forget, she got a phone call. We was at home, and you know, when you go through something like that, they'll threaten you and tell you if you tell anybody, they'll kill you.
Yeah.
So I held that in. I didn't want to tell them. While you were looking out for everybody else's youth, and you were taking care of them and housing them and making sure they were getting saved, I got to your son.
Oh, and I know that must have hurt your mom to hear those words, and I know it hurt you and how the situation went. And that was some of the things that was piling on with the illness that had started growing on the inside of you, because you was battling were you battling with, do I tell somebody? Do I keep it to myself? And why am I so angry? Why am I'm hurt? You had so many emotions that was going on the inside of you. But you, even through that, it was other things that happened as life went on. And as those things begin to happen, it began to pile on and pile on and pile on. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Just as I stated, the church people.
Mm-hmm.
I also, like, as it began to come, because eventually it came out to what happened, but it came out the wrong way.
Oh, okay.
They found out, and they was trying to stigmatize me as, being in a certain lifestyle that I wasn't.
Right.
Like, they was trying. I would go to different churches, and they would actually, some of the preachers there would actually call me out, like a being in a lifestyle that I wasn't.
Yes. It puts you in a category as trying to be labeled.
Yeah.
But how did it make you feel after that had happened? You felt like, oh, I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to be around people no more.
I don't want to be around people. I didn't trust church people. It broke me, like, spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to deal with anyone. It had me, like, to where I put up a wall because my trust had been broken. I was broken. My mom, I remember a message she preached called Broken Image. That message, it didn't stick out to me at the time, but I went back to listen to her message, and I can relate to some of the things she was mentioning to men because at that time, I didn't realize how broken I was until now.
Yes. And then after that, even I can say this right here. There may be people out there that really don't understand the effects that it takes on people that haven't. Now, if you haven't gone through rape or gone through something so traumatizing, you won't know how it feels. And like you said, there was people that was judging you and saying things about you. And then I wrote down something like an example. There's an example I wanted to present to you. It's just like somebody being on the outside of someone's house, and you're looking in the window, and you're trying to see what it looked like on the inside. But you can never see how the house looked on the inside until you walk in. And then you look around in the house when you're on the inside. You can see how the house is set up, how pretty it is, or if it ain't clean, how nasty it is, however. But you'll get to see it when you get on the inside. So it's just like when a person is going through something, you can wear something on the outside and looking on the outside like everything's okay. But on the inside, something is really hurting and something is really broken on the inside of you. And people don't get to see or feel how broken you is on the inside. And so they can't begin to care or have compassion for what you're going through. But when you decided that I'm going to seek help for myself. And when you came, I know the last time we touched a little bit on what made you really come to that conclusion. Had you got tired of the way you were thinking, the way you was feeling, being angry and everything. And I know that it was mentioned too, and you mentioned it also, that even when people are going through this, most people come to the conclusion that they're tired of being this way. They can't understand. Nobody understand me. And maybe they result to suicide.
Yeah.
And I was reading where in this decade, it's been a higher volume of young people committing suicide. But I'm here today to try to help the young people to understand that is not the last result. There is help out there. And I know that Dominique want to help people today and let them know that you don't have to result into that. Dominique had came to a point too also that he felt like he wanted to give up. Like he shared in the last segment. He shared that he felt like, he wanted to check out, because nobody seemed like nobody understood and nobody could feel the hurt that he was feeling. And so he decided to check out, but I'm glad he didn't check out because he decided that I'm going to go see some help.
That's right.
And after seeing that help, like you shared with us the last time you went to the help, and I remember you was discussing with us before we came on the segment, you were saying how you went into a group of talking. How did you feel that time when you got in a group? What were you thinking when you got in a group getting ready to talk? I know some people don't like to talk in a group, so what was your first experience?
It was hard for me to actually open up in the group because it was already hard for me to open up with one person. So I was sitting there looking at all these people like I'm supposed to open up and tell them all my business. But as I began to do it, it actually helped me. Once I did make my mind to, open up and share certain things, because we would share things, and I seen how certain things that they went through in life, it wasn't actually the same thing, but we all had something to relate to each other in certain areas that we could help each other with. So it really did me a great deal to open up in front of them.
Yes.
It helped me out a lot.
Right. And you got a chance to hear other people's story.
Yeah, of what they've been through.
Right. And maybe some of them was ashamed and afraid to start talking about it. But once you all got into that circle and began to talk, you began to relate.
Yeah, we had to build a trust. Cause how they had us build trust, we played certain games with each other, like trust games that involve trusting each other. For us to build that trust up among each other, to where we can open up and share our personal life with each other.
Right, right. Because I have heard, how so many young people, when they're going through this time, they feel like they're all alone.
Yes.
And some of them do result in, like I said, suicide.
Yes.
And because they feel like there's no hope, there's no help.
Right.
But I'm so glad we are bringing this topic to the table to let people know, go and see a therapist.
Yes.
Go let them talk to you. Let them hear how you're feeling. Let them hear what you're thinking.
Right.
I remember you were saying, too, that you was hearing voices.
Yes, I was hearing voices telling me to hurt myself. I would have nightmares about the traumatic experience as well. It was hard for me to actually sleep. I had no peace at all. I would go to sleep and have nightmares. My wife can witness to me having nightmares and sitting up and sometimes not even being able to sleep. And like she said, feeling like it's no way out. Like I felt like my only way out was suicide. But before I went to seek the therapy that I needed, that showed me that I didn't have to take my life for me to, be free.
Yes, yes. And I'm so glad that you was listening to someone telling you that's not the last result.
Exactly.
That there is hope and there is help. And a lot of times there are people that may not, and young people that may not have that person in their ear. But we want to help you on today to go find somebody that will listen to you. Find somebody that will hear what you have to say. A lot of times the parents, they already know something is wrong.
Right.
And the parent want to get to you and want to talk to you, but it seems like there's a wall that that someone may put up with the parent, and the parent can't get to that place with them, and the parent don't know how to say or how to reach that child. And then when that child result in being successful at suicide, the parent have to live with the guilt on how could I have prevented this?
Yeah.
What could I have done? But I even want to encourage that parent.
Yes.
You love that child. You did what you could. And even though that child didn't get the help, don't try to hold the responsibility of the guilt on yourself.
Right.
Even you may need to go and speak to a therapist, because a therapist can help you through that process. You see, there's a lot of things that can traumatize us in life and put us in that position where we do need to see a therapist. But I tell anybody, don't be afraid to go. Don't be ashamed to go and seek help. Let me see what other questions I have here. What would Dominic 2020 tell Dominic, the young man, back then?
Dominic 2020 would tell the young man back then, not to allow situations that you've been through to make it out like you to be what you've been through. Like, just because you go through certain situations don't mean that that's who you are. Just because I was raped doesn't mean that I have to live, in that lifestyle or in that lifestyle of depression. Or it don't make me what I've been through.
Right.
It don't make you less of a person, less of a man, just because you've been through, less of a woman because you've been through certain things in life.
Right. Okay, I'm going to ask your wife, Ivory. Ivory, as you've seen Dominic go through these changes, what effect did it have on you?
Watching him go through the changes, It was difficult because I had to try to shield my emotions, knowing that, okay, something is wrong. And I even, long time ago, before he even actually started getting the help, because we'll be married 10 years this year. And even in the beginning, when I first started noticing things,
Yes.
I would suggest to him, hey, I think maybe you need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
But then he was kind of, I would say, in a state of denial. Like, I don't need that.
Right.
Kind of, I'm fine. Ain't nothing wrong with me.
Right.
So, knowing that something was wrong, and then beginning to have a family and children watching things and not understanding exactly what is going on with, daddy, having to kind of shield them, but also at the same time guard my heart, so that I don't internalize, what is going on, that I understood that, he just needed help.
Right.
And that this isn't the man that I know that he is, that he's having issues right now.
Right.
And I need to, just pray for him. That's really all I could do, because until somebody, for anybody that's, trying to support someone who's going through something, and you may see that something may be going on with them and something may be wrong and they may need to seek help, but until they come to the knowledge of that themselves, until they reach a point where, okay, I see now that I need to get it together, there's really nothing that you could say, nothing that you can do to push that process. And that's something I had to learn, because in the beginning I would try to force it, and that would end up being an argument or some kind of big issue, and I had to learn that I just need to take a step back and just pray about it, and allow God to touch his heart, because eventually God did.
Yes. Okay. And then you, as a wife, you didn't try to keep saying, oh, it's something wrong with you, it's something wrong with you, it's something wrong with you. You noticed that something was wrong. Right. You addressed it, and you told him you need to seek help.
Yes.
And you stood by him, though, and you supported him wholeheartedly through the process.
Yes.
And then eventually he went and got the help. But I know it must have been hard on you watching him go through that and seeing that you couldn't reach out and help him. Because I know there was probably times you wanted to help him.
Yeah.
You said, I want to help him because I know something is going on. This is a good man. And this is a good man, which bad things have happened to him, and he needs to talk about it. And said, but I can't, he won't open up to me because I'm the wife.
Right.
And you being the wife, you didn't know how to talk the conversations and all that stuff to bring it out. Right. But he sought help. And as he began to seek that help, did you start seeing changes, good changes?
Yes, as he began to, because that was another thing with us. He, like he said, he was very guarded. Yes. And, he wouldn't even open up and really talk to me, even when I knew something was wrong that he needed to talk about. But he wouldn't discuss that with me. But when he started going to therapy, I realized, because there was a time where a lot of things, what people don't know, depression and stuff will affect your health.
Yes.
And he had 2 strokes. He had 2 heart attacks.
Yes.
And this was part of the reason why he lost his job. The first stroke, he was paralyzed for a couple months. He couldn't walk. He couldn't do anything for himself. And this added to the fuel. So this put the fuel to the fire, if you will. Right. So all of the combination of things, basically, caused him to go down, this path, and make things, amplified it even more than it was. Yeah. But I noticed once he started getting the help that he needed, he was happier. Yes. He was, I remember, like, there was a stigma about him as far as he's mean. A lot of people, used to say that about him. I used to hear it, in conversation, that he's the mean guy. And he was not like that at all. Right. It's just that there were circumstances in his life that caused him to, be always on the defense. Right. And he didn't even realize he was doing that until he got the help that he needed. Right. And I watched him in certain situations where he would normally, get upset and, fight sometimes and stuff. He doesn't do that anymore, because now he knows how to deal, with his emotions a little
Yes.
better than he did before.
Yes, right. And as he was going through those different changes, see, people didn't know
Right.
what had happened. And then some people may know, like you said, but got a different take, a different side of the story.
Right.
But you are here today telling your story. And this is your story. It doesn't matter what people have heard or what they believe happened. You know the truth about your story.
Right.
And I'm just so glad that you're sharing it today. Even as you was talking, I was thinking how that must have been a difficult situation to be in for you,
Yes.
and a difficult situation for him.
Yes.
And like you said, he would lash out and he would fight. He wasn't fighting you.
No, he was
But
not fighting me.
in a conversation
No.
that would come up with other people, he was ready to retaliate on the people.
Right.
Because he was dealing with such anger on the inside and so much hurt
Right.
because of the way he had been treated
Right.
with people, what they have done to him, and then caused him to fall into depression. And like you said, he had 2 strokes. Then he had a heart attack,
Yes.
and which resulted in what?
His heart attack resulted in him. He was hospitalized several times. Yes, and he actually recently had open heart surgery.
Yeah.
There was something that we didn't know was going on with him too. By
From
him
birth.
being in the hospital from birth, right? By him being in the hospital and being in the hospital so much and being so young, they said at first, it's probably he's just depressed and all that kind of stuff. Then we found out that he actually had a health condition that needed to immediately be operated on,
Yes.
because his life basically depended on it. So
Yes.
he had surgery a couple months ago. He's still actually recuperating from open heart surgery at 34 years old.
Right.
The surgery he actually had, the doctors say that usually people in their 60s and 70s have,
Right.
and so, but if he didn't get it now, there was a chance that maybe he wouldn't be here next year, So I thank God that even though the situation was, hard with everything that happened, it allowed for us to find out different things that was going on with him that
Yes.
needed to be fixed.
Right. Because like you said, the heart surgery was a result of something that he had in birth.
Yes.
That they found out later on that it could have got fixed when he was a baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then upon all this stuff that happened to him, it's just the grace of God that he's still here
Yes.
because he had a lot of stress
Yes.
and a lot of pressure on him.
Yes.
At any given time when the doctor saw it, they said he could have had a massive and been gone. But
Exactly.
God covered his heart and through all the pressure that he was going through.
Right.
So it's good today to know that he has gotten some of that pressure off of him.
Right.
And we know we're still going to deal with pressures in life.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and once you dealt with some sort of mental health and you have sought to see a physician, to see
Yes.
the people, the therapists to talk with you, you are still going to go through your process of healing. And I thank God today, and I'm glad that you came to share your story with our audience, because there are people that are going through things like this, but they haven't shared their story. And I hope something you said today will encourage them. And I wanted to shed some light. On you to the people, to let the people know that you can go through things in life, but don't label me as what I have gone through.
That's right.
Don't label me as I'm an outcast or something is wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong, but you had life issues. Each one of us have life issues.
Right.
I've had some. I'm still dealing with some. And, but we have to talk to somebody to get them in perspective. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Yes, you can talk to a friend, but a friend won't diagnose your case.
Right. That's
A
right.
friend don't know professionally how to help you. All a friend would know how to do is just encourage you.
That's
but
right.
you still feel that same stuff going on the inside of you. But I'm glad and I'm so happy you all came back on again to share with us and just to let us know, like you was sharing with Dominic 2000.
Yeah.
Dominic Younger, you would tell him, that I believe you would tell him that, hey, it's not that hard. You
That's
know,
right.
yeah, you
Right.
had those things that happen, but you're still whole. You're still who you are, and you're gonna go on and make great things happen in life.
Yes.
I do believe you're gonna go on and make great things happen. I just want to encourage anybody that is experiencing this today, and you're going through something like this. Go and seek help. There's nothing wrong with it. We all have experienced some things that have traumatized us, even at childhood,
Yes.
anytime. But don't let it stop you from being the person that God has designed you to be. Don't let it pull you back from where you should be in life. Go seek the help. Go get the help. You know, I have talked to many of my friends. They're experiencing it with a loved one or someone that is going through this. And I want to encourage them on today to seek the help. You know, I was talking to a young lady. I was letting her know it's okay to go see a therapist. You're not crazy. You just need to get some stuff out of you. Far too long in our community, we have said if you go see anybody like a therapist or a psychiatrist or somebody like that, you label as being crazy. No, you're not. I'm smart enough to go and seek help.
That's right.
So ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm smart enough to know that it's something going on that is not right, and I need to talk to somebody that's gonna help me to get it in perspective. There's too many of our young people and our older people that we have lost. Too many things that happen in this world that could have been avoided if you had a sought help or somebody had a sought help. Even if it's your mother and the child is going through it, go get help for that child.
Yes.
Even if you being the mother, there's something wrong with you, go seek help so you'll know how to treat that child. It's okay to get help. I know God is here for us. Yes, He is. He make us feel all warm and fuzzy inside, but we still need that kind of help.
Yes.
So I want to ask a few questions right now to Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stewart, can you tell us some of the things you saw when you was in war that really stuck in your mind, that maybe have traumatized you, and it stays on your mind? It stayed on your mind after you got home. You would go around certain things or certain smells will always bring back that time to you.
I can say that war changes people, and it puts you in a completely different perspective about everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there were a lot of bodies. You know, there was a lot of killing, a lot of death. And I know that may sound the same to someone, but those are two different words. Killing, as far as us killing, and as far as, you know, our own people dying. So there is a lot of that embedded in my thought process, because you have to understand that you can't clean up things in war, and these are the things that people don't realize. You know, the movies may show some things, and sometimes they can make it kind of graphic, but you don't clean up things in war. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you're fighting, you know, whatever happens to someone, that's it. That's where they are. That's what. That's where everything stays.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to explain it without being too graphic.
Yes. Yes.
I'll just say when we actually met the enemy to a point where we were close enough to really see, because desert warfare is different from like Vietnam or something like that.
Yes.
You can see for miles in the desert. So most of that war was fought with tanks that could fire at long distances, kind of like a video game.
Right.
of tanks. But it got to the point where we did something that they call waves, and after you got through a wave, the aftermath of what those tanks did was there.
Yeah.
And so after that first attack, in a series of several attacks, I remember for the first time in my life seeing a casualty of war.
Yeah.
And it was an Iraqi soldier, and we had just fired upon an enemy tank. The tank exploded. All of the bodies, came out of the tank.
Yeah.
And again, I'm trying to say this without being too.
But even after seeing all that, when you got back to the States, what always took you back there?
Okay, and so seeing that body, that first body that I actually experienced, that was death, and it was still smoldering.
Right, right.
It began to emit a certain odor.
Yeah.
And then as we went on, some of the helicopters would fire upon trucks and tanks, and I remember a tank of Iraqi truck of Iraqi soldiers who the fire was so intense that they didn't get a chance to move. They were like stuck in place in the driver's seat, on the steering wheel, just burnt bodies. Those different odors, and like I said, things stay in place. We couldn't leave that region after the war, and we're talking in the desert, which sometimes it's over 100 degrees.
Right.
And just imagine the odors, and because those bodies weren't removed. We stayed there almost 2 weeks, driving around in the aftermath of war. So you can imagine, I don't want to get it, but you can imagine. So coming back to the United States, I remember a time I was working in the post office, and I was on a machine, and sometimes letters get stuck in the machine.
Right.
And the letter got stuck, and the machine continued to run, and it began to burn the letter.
Yes.
And the combination of whatever was on that machine and the letter, it brought back that smell.
Yeah.
And I literally had to get up and go outside of the workroom floor, because I could not take sitting there with that smell. There are certain sounds that bother me. Certain things can fall, drop, a pot or something that has a specific sound that was, some type of close call to my life.
Right.
So that scares me to this day. It could be something simple. It could be a 2-year-old child that drops it, but nevertheless,
it makes that.
It reminds me.
Right.
Excuse me.
So you have. So it's like triggers.
It's a trigger, and once I go there, now my mind is automatically in the war zone mode.
Right.
We've been told once you've been to the desert, you never leave the desert.
Oh.
So there are other sounds
Yes.
that I learned to get used to that are not normal to other people. Certain gunshots and those types of sounds that when I hear them, I don't flinch because they don't affect me. I know what they are, or I know the general direction of where it's coming from, or what's, so other people will be rattled, and I'll say, oh, that's, just such and such.
Yes.
Because you get to the point where you start to hear it so much out there that it becomes normal to you. And that's not normal.
Right.
Bombs and things like that were dropping. So those are a lot of the things that trigger me while I'm here trying to live the civilian side of things.
Right.
Those certain noises put certain thoughts in my head. Certain I can't be in crowded places. I don't want to sit where I can't see where there's a door. I don't want to sit where there's a lot of windows. I always want to be in a place where I can protect whoever's in the room.
Yeah.
And to other people, they think, oh, that's nothing. But to a soldier, he's vulnerable.
Right.
So it's never comfortable. I'm never comfortable if I'm not in a position where I know I can make an escape. I can cover myself. I can cover people. I don't ever want to be in a place where I can be attacked. Every time I go in a room, I scout the room.
Right.
I size up the people. They could be very innocent, but I'm always doing that. I'm always sizing them up. I'm always looking to see what may be in their pockets, any sudden movements that they make, any looks on their face, because I don't know what you're going to do.
Right.
You may not be doing anything, but to me, if something is not right, that's where I go to.
Right.
So those are a lot of triggers, if you will.
Okay. Triggers. Okay. And we know that there may be people that are listening, or they know somebody that have those triggers also, or different kinds of triggers that trigger them. But like I said, we are on here today to encourage our friends, our loved ones, maybe someone you don't even know that you're concerned about, to seek help, because there is help out there. There are many different kinds of mental illnesses. There are many things. There can be something even like anxiety. I was looking at that. How the anxiety disorder is basically you just feel like, it's just you feel anxious. And you feel nervous and upset, fearful.
Yes. And
then some people even have those anxiety attacks that they have to breathe into a bag to calm themselves down. And that, can generate from something that happened in your life. Or you feel closed in different areas of your life, and you feel like you need help. And this is the only way some of the people get help. And they feel very anxious. Most days, I was looking at it where it was saying about the general anxiety. It is like most days you feel okay. Some days you're worried. Some days you have difficulty getting up, or you're even experiencing just normal conversation with people because you're anxious and you're feeling afraid. I know there are a lot of people going through this today. And like I said, I heard someone say that in our community, the black community, we do not want to see about ourselves in those areas. But as a black generation, we all have been traumatized. Right. We have been traumatized because of a generation of being in the race that we're in. And we're stigmatized. If I go somewhere and I have my boys with me. We walk in a store somewhere. We walk by certain people. They move because I have 3 black men walking with me. And if they felt some type of way and feel like, oh, these people feel this way about me, that can traumatize you. And then you could be afraid. Now, I'm telling y'all, when I first moved down here, back to Georgia, I was afraid for my children, my boys to go out after dark and stay out too long. I'm going like, God, something is wrong with me. But that's a situation we have been placed in. And you think, you be thinking, is something going to happen to them? Are they going to make it home tonight? That is traumatizing. You have to worry about those things. And you pray that they make it home. And you pray that they be safe. But when mental health take on your life, it's not you in charge. It's that those thoughts, those feelings, the inability to cope, all of this is taken on your life. But I want to encourage anybody that are listening today, we're not on here for show or for fashion. Tammy Talk is about helping. Tammy Talk is about helping you to get to the place that you need to get in your life. Don't be ashamed to seek help. I'm going to say that again. Don't be ashamed to seek help. Like I was talking to somebody a while back, when I mentioned this to them, they was telling me about what they was going through. And I mentioned, well, maybe you need to go see a therapist. They laughed a little bit. And I just got straight. I said, that ain't funny. Because what you're going through, you need to talk about it. You need to share it with your therapist so they can work you through this. If you're born into a family and that family ain't treating you right, from the jump, you're getting damaged. Something is going to start going wrong in your life, and then if you're in that household where somebody is constantly molesting you, and you can't share it, you're afraid because they tell you if you share it, I'll kill you, or I'll do this to you, and I'll do that to you. And what? I'm going to tell a joke on my show. Yeah. One time my mom was sharing with me and my sisters. She said, I'm going to share with you all. If anybody ever touch you all, she said, I'm saved and I'm sanctified and I'm filled with the Holy Ghost, but I have to repent after this. She said, if they bother you and they tell you they're going to kill you, please tell them I'm going to kill them. And I will repent. Yeah. And, you know, I knew she wouldn't do that, but it gave me a confidence to say that I would be able to run to my mama.
Right.
If something happened. If somebody do this to me. So there's a lot of things that happen in your life that will cause you to fall into depression or cause you to have a mental illness. Don't be ashamed. Seek help. Seek help. The Tammy Talk Show is here to help. I thank you all for coming with us to continue the conversation on today. I hope you all enjoyed what we have shared on today. I had my nephew here, Dominic Relaford. I have my niece here, Ivory Relaford, and they wasn't ashamed to tell their story. I had the husband here sharing his story. He's not ashamed to tell his story because people need help. If we can hear your testimony, it will help somebody else. And let them know that you can seek help. Don't be ashamed to do it. Aren't you glad you went, Dominic?
I am. Please get help. Seek help. If you need it, go get it. Don't let nobody stop you. Like Maya said, you're not crazy. Go get the help. The help is there. Prayer is good. For us church people, prayer is good. It's good, but some things go deeper than prayer, and some things need medication. I'm on the medication that I need. It helps.
Yes. And he's not ashamed that he's on his medication. He's taking his medication and it's helping him. And I'm glad that there are doctors out there that can medicate us and help us through the process that we're going through. How you feel about it?
Well, I just want to encourage, anybody who's providing support for somebody who's going through any type of mental illness, or even if they have an issue and they may not have sought the help yet, just know that you're not alone. Just know that, sometimes it takes time. Mm-hmm. Just be calm and as much as you can be patient with the process. And I promise it'll get better.
Yes.
I want to say, don't be too big. Don't feel like you've got it so together that you don't need to go and seek help. Mm-hmm. Don't feel like you have to put up a front for anybody, because at the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself. Mm-hmm. And for those of you that are dealing with someone who is going through or has a mental health issue, or you think that they have a mental health issue, the biggest thing I can say, and they've touched on it, my part of it is try to be a little more understanding. Mm-hmm. And try to be a little more patient. For those of you that know me personally, you probably say Anthony is always laughing and joking. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I've always been a fun-loving guy. But after the war, that is therapy for me. That I have to be that type of person, because if I don't, I start to think too much. Mm-hmm. And when I think too much, all the other things just kind of cloud into my brain of the past. So a lot of time, and it could be a simple situation. So I said that to say, be understanding. Try to see where they're coming from before you pass a judgment. Because again, those of you that know me, I can be very happy. And the next thing you know, my face is changing, and I get loud and things get bad, because I try to fight a lot of time the thought process in my head to try to keep it at bay. And that was something the therapist was sharing with me, try to stay in a happy place. It's better to be in a happy place. So be understanding and considerate to those folk that you know or you think that may have mental health issues.
Yes. And many things, as I said, could cause that to happen. It could be something traumatizing in your life. I was reading something that said you can even been in a car accident. You can be in a situation, or you can watch something happen that can traumatize you. All those things can happen to you. It don't all the time have to be what's went on with me or what went on with him. It can be something out of the ordinary that will happen and cause you to fall into depression, and cause you to be afraid, and cause you to have a touch of mental illness in your life. But you can seek help. We was here today on the Tammy Talk Show.
That's right.
Tammy Talks. And I am Tammy, and I would like for you to please stay tuned with me and stay in touch with me, and watch on Sunday evenings at 6:30 and Thursday at 6:30. I will have another show coming on Thursday. You will enjoy it. I'm looking into it, getting research on it, getting the people lined up. You're going to enjoy it. I'm going to talk about business on this show. I'm going to talk about finances on this show. I'm going to talk about, because we need somebody to talk about things in our community.
Yes.
Someone that will help us and on our level. A lot of times we see people talking on talk shows. They're not dealing with the things that we're dealing with. They have, arrived or got into a place in their life where they're not dealing with issues like we are. But I am a program that is trying to come on and help the people on the level that I'm at, and the people that I know that can help our community. Like I said, I'm going to bring on business people, and during Father's Day week, I'm going to have different people, different fathers coming on, talking about their experiences as a father, because a lot of times people only think, and the court only think, there was a mother. But there had to be a father before she became a mother. And we're going to have different people on concerning that. We're going to be around the table Sunday, Father's Day, talking with my family, my brothers, and all going to share their experience and as being a father. We just want to make it inviting, and we want to engage you in the conversation. If you want to engage in the conversation, come in with your questions, come in with your calls, even if you want to be on the show. And you want me to invite you in, just inbox me. I'll invite you in to share your story and to help somebody in our area, in our community, whoever's watching. You'll be able to help them to come to the conclusion that there is somebody thinking about them, and there's somebody have a story to tell that will help them carry on with their journey. Tune in Thursday with me at 6:30. I'll be glad to see you there. Love you much. Keep on watching the Tammy Talk Show.